The emergency beacon tore through the night frequency like a scream. Korvac's scales bristled as the distress call burned through his neural implant. His cubs were missing from the den ship. For a Thraxian apex predator, a species that had hunted across 3 star systems before achieving sentience, the loss of offspring triggered something far older than civilization. His massive form moved through the colony's corridors with deadly precision. 8 feet of corded muscle, obsidian scales, and retractable claws designed to tear through reinforced hull plating. Other species pressed themselves against walls as he passed. They knew better than to approach a Thraxian alpha in hunting mode. The colony's security chief, a nervous Velian with too many eyes, intercepted him at the central hub. Alpha Korvac were tracking their biosignatures. They're in Sector 7, the human quarters. Korvac's growl resonated like grinding stone. Humans. The newest species to join the Galactic Coalition, and the most baffling. They had no natural weapons, no armor plating, no venom sacs. They were soft, slow, and illogically fragile, yet they had clawed their way from a death world into the stars through sheer stubborn persistence. The galaxy hadn't known whether to admire or pity them, and now his cubs, his precious, irreplaceable offspring, were in their territory. He stormed toward Sector 7, his claws scoring the metal floor with each step. His instincts screamed at him. Humans were predators too, though they hid it behind soft skin and diplomatic smiles. What if they saw his cubs as prey, as trophies? His mind conjured a dozen horrible scenarios, each one stoking the furnace of parental rage burning in his chest. The door to the human habitat hissed open before he could tear it from its hinges. Inside, the lighting was dim, adjusted to match Earth's circadian rhythms. The air smelled wrong, oxygen-rich, humid, tinged with something organic and growing. Humans insisted on keeping plants everywhere, as if they couldn't shake the need for their homeworld's green chaos. Korvac's acute hearing picked up something unexpected. Soft breathing, multiple heartbeats in synchronization, and a gentle humming sound. He followed it deeper into the habitat, past strange decorations and incomprehensible human artifacts, until he reached a small chamber. What he saw stopped him cold. His 3 cubs, Raxel, Thena, and little Chris, were curled together in a nest of soft fabric. Their scales had shifted to the pale blue of contentment, their breathing deep and even. And beside them, serving as both pillow and guardian, was a human. Talia Wren looked up at him with those impossibly expressive eyes humans possessed. She was small even by human standards, her frame delicate, her movements careful not to disturb the sleeping cubs draped across her lap. She raised one finger to her lips in a universal gesture. Quiet. They wandered in about 2 hours ago. She whispered, her voice barely audible, scared, looking for shelter. There was a power fluctuation in your sector. The lights went out. I think it frightened them. Korvac's translator chip struggled with the emotion in her voice. Concern, affection. His cubs, apex predators in training, treated this fragile creature like a second parent. Raxel's head rested against her shoulder. Thena's tail was wrapped loosely around her arm. Chris, the smallest, had wedged himself between her side and the cushions. His tiny claws retracted completely, a sign of absolute trust. Why did you not alert security immediately? Korvac demanded, though his voice had lost its edge. Talia smiled, and Korvac realized it was the first time he'd seen a human smile without diplomatic purpose behind it. Because they were terrified. They needed comfort first, not protocol. Besides, she glanced down at the cubs with unmistakable tenderness. They reminded me of my nieces back on Earth. When they're scared, they don't need questions, they need someone to tell them they're safe. Korvac stood there, his predatory instincts warring with something he hadn't anticipated. Understanding. In Thraxian culture, strength was paramount. Cubs were taught early to face fear alone, to overcome it through dominance. Yet here was a species that had conquered one of the galaxy's most hostile worlds, not through individual might, but through collective compassion. You are not afraid of them? He asked, genuinely curious now. His cubs would grow to be larger than Talia within a year. Their claws could shred Kevlar. Their jaws could crush bone. Afraid? Talia looked puzzled. They're children, Alpha Korvac. Scared children who needed help. What kind of person would I be if I turned them away? The simplicity of her logic was staggering. Humans had no natural defenses, so they had built civilization itself as armor. They protected each other and, apparently, anyone else they deemed worthy of protection. with a ferocity that had nothing to do with claws or venom and everything to do with choice. Korvac's scales slowly shifted from aggressive crimson to contemplative silver. He approached carefully, kneeling beside the strange tableau. Chris stirred, opening one eye. Instead of scrambling toward his father, the cub merely chirped contentedly and burrowed deeper against Talia's side. "I apologize for my intrusion," Korvac said formally, though he made no move to take his cubs immediately, "and I thank you for their care." Talia nodded, her hand absently stroking Raxel's scales in a motion the cub clearly found soothing. "No apology needed. Though maybe next time there's a power outage, someone should mention it to the parents before they tear the station apart looking." Was that humor? Korvac's translator indicated amusement in her tone. He found himself making a sound he hadn't produced in years, a rumbling purr that Thraxians used to signal contentment and respect. "You are strange creatures, you humans," he said, settling into a sitting position, "weak yet strong, vulnerable yet dangerous. I do not understand you." "Most days we don't understand ourselves," Talia admitted, "but we figure it out as we go, usually with help." She looked at him directly, and Korvac saw something in those soft eyes that his species rarely acknowledged. Kinship. "Your cubs are beautiful, by the way. You must be very proud I am." The words came easier than expected. "And perhaps I have judged your kind too quickly." They sat together in comfortable silence, predator and human, while the cubs slept on, oblivious to the bridge being built above their peaceful forms. Outside, the colony continued its endless rotation through the void, home to 1,000 species learning to coexist. But in that small room, something older and more fundamental than politics or treaties took root. The understanding that protection, compassion, and courage wore many faces across the stars, and sometimes the fiercest guardian had no claws at all.